Hello everyone and welcome to a special little mini-series that we're here doing on the bonus points. Something that we have had requested at us a lot because we keep mentioning it is what are our personal top 10 games. We're going even better. We're going to give you our top 20 for no extra charge. Yeah. Basically what this is going to be is Ollie and I are going to go back and forth. In this video, we're going to do from 20 to 16, so the bottom 5 games. So we're going to do 4 videos leading up to number 1.
Yeah, or we could do 20 to 16 and then down to 5 and then do 5 more videos. Really drag it out.
Basically just do a podcast for like the last 5. The reason we're not doing it in one video is because we want to have a bit of time to discuss each game. And then we realized when we did our most anticipated games, that video ended up being like 50 minutes long. So we realized.
And how many was there? 5?
I think we did. I think was that 5? Well, I did 10 because I was an overachiever. But
you rushed. You did rush through your first 5.
Yeah, I just blasted through them. So we're only going to be discussing in depth each game once in case there's some crossover. And even though it is going to get more exciting once we get closer to 1, I think that these first couple of videos might be more fun because I think there's going to be some more surprises. There's going to be games that the other person might not expect. You might not expect. So I think this is going to be a more interesting one, whereas the top 5 is just going to be us having discussions we have all the time about why we love our favorite games.
Yeah, I think for these first 2, it's definitely going to be worth watching the video version because I think I've got some stuff on here that people might not have ever heard about. So they won't actually see it. Yeah.
Right then, let's begin with you then. What is your 20th favourite game of all time?
My 20th favourite game of all time is Time Crisis 2 in the arcade.
Okay.
Is number 20. Released in 1997. So that's back when Namco were like really feeling themselves, were really good. It's a light gun game. You've probably seen it. It's got the foot pedal. This game was probably, growing up, our closest arcade machine apart from the dance mat, which, like, when you go to an all-boys school, you don't spend a lot of time on the dance machines. But Time Crisis 2 got a lot of play when we were younger. We used to have the cinema near us had one. We used to go in just to play Time Crisis 2.
Yeah.
And it was the first game ever finished in a single credit. It's just everything I love about arcade games boiled down into one game.
How long does it take to complete on a credit? What's your investment?
Well, to actually play from start to finish, it takes about 14 minutes. But like in terms of the amount of times I had to play it,
to get good enough,
probably about 8 or 9 hours, I'd say. But I did buy the PS2 version, so I'd practice at home and then go down the cinema and beat it in one go in front of my friends. Is
it the game you've spent the most money on?
Arcade game? No,
just game.
Probably also no. But
what arcade game then?
Well, I used to play Street Fighter in the arcade, and that used to be £1 a turn. And then once you got 8 wins, they would kick you off the machine. So even if you were continuously winning, you'd just have to pay again to continue playing.
The game would, or someone would come over and be that's enough, mate, take it outside.
No. When Street Fighter 4 came out, if you got 8 wins, it would just say, oh, thanks for playing, and then you'd have to get off. Or like where I played, you just put another £1 in and carried on. But yeah.
So I'm not like huge on like light gun games. Are there any other ones that are like close? Or because obviously there's a load of Time Crisis games. I know you also like the House of the Dead games.
House of the Dead. Yeah. House of the Dead 2 is probably my other favourite. Point Blank is quite funny, like for a laugh, but it's not really on the same caliber. I'd say probably House of the Dead 2, but House of the Dead 2 is much longer and much more difficult than Time Crisis 2. Time Crisis 2, I picked up we have an arcade here for the first time in about 10 years, and I finished it in a single credit again. So it's quite easy when you know how to do it. Whereas House of the Dead is way more difficult. I think it's because you can't hide. Yeah. So in Time Crisis, you can hide. If an enemy attacks you, you just take your foot off the pedal, and you'll like go into cover. So it's quite easy to have a back and forth. Whereas House of the Dead, you kind of just stand there, and you have to defeat the enemies before they get to you, basically, which makes it much harder.
I kind of forgot about Time Crisis, but it makes sense. I remember that, didn't your username used to be like Pink Gun? Because you'd always use the pink gun.
Yes, it did. I used
to
use the pink gun, yeah. And I have a Time Crisis 2 hat. I should have worn it for this. Yeah. I got a custom embroidered Time Crisis 2 hat. But part of the reasons I like arcade games is because they feel like an event.
Yeah.
And the Time Crisis 2 machine, like, it kind of commands respect of, like, it's so noisy and it's so massive. And you can play it with your friend. And it's like involving, you're not just shooting the screen, you're also doing the foot pedal.
And it's also cool, it's like the two perspectives. Like, because most light gun games, if you're doing it together, you're seeing the same screen, but you're kind of shooting ones on your side because they're the ones that are going to hurt you more.
Yeah,
Whereas
exactly,
than this, you'll see the other person like bobbing up and down in the background while you're playing. And I always remember watching you play, and there's like the bit where like the barrels are flying towards you, and you're like, you'll put your finger in the trigger and go like, like to shoot really fast. I'm like, he's building up calluses to play this game.
The other thing is with Time Crisis 2 is that back in 1997, you play a co-op game, it's not often you're doing different things.
Exactly,
I can't think of any that back in that era that you were doing something different to your partner, whereas, it's common now, but back in the day, if you played co-op, you'd just be standing next to each other. Whereas this game is like you kind of split up, then you rejoin, and you can cover each other, and like it was just cool.
I remember even in Gears of War, that was a cool novelty when you go different paths, or like I'm shining the light so you can get through this area and stuff. Like I remember that was almost novelty at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, number 20. There you go. Time Crisis. I wonder if that was a surprise or not. I don't know.
When you first said it, like I didn't think of it, but when I was like, oh yeah, of course. I didn't even think about arcade games. Okay, right. Shall I go for mine?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, I'm doing just one honorable mention before we start.
Okay,
this list has changed. I change it like every day. I've changed it like 3 times. So I'm literally changing it like while we're talking now. And there's one that's just slipped off the list, and I feel so bad for it because it's probably a better game than many of the games on the list. But I think it's because it's a more recent one, and it's a more like mechanical game rather than story and characters. Anyway, I'll say what it is. Slay the Spire. The roguelike card game. I love that game. Yeah. I've put more hours into it than most of the other games on this list. Playing it on the Switch, I completed it in like every character, like every deck.
Yeah.
Which is a big time
I couldn't
investment.
believe when you told me that. I've done it with one character and I was like, yeah, I'm done. And you're like, no, I've done it with all of them, including, I'm assuming you can unlock characters beyond the like 3 you get right at the beginning.
Yeah, there's like a special challenge, which I almost got to, where there's a bunch of extras. Actually, tell you what, I won't talk more about it because we're planning to do a podcast on it. But let's just say it's a great game. When we end up doing it on the podcast, listen to it, and I'll talk about it for ages. But let's go to my actual number 20, because it's not on my list.
Yeah.
It's not on my list. So at number 20 is a weird one for me. It's Quake Champions.
Wow, 20. I thought that'd be right up there.
Yeah, so Quake Champions. So this is probably the game on this list. There's maybe one other that might rival it that I've probably spent the most time in. I think I've put. I think I told you what my time was. I don't know if you remember. I think it's well over 1,000 hours I've put into this game. It's a lot. I play it almost at least once a week. It's basically the way I play it is I play duels, which is like 1v1 with other players. I almost only do custom games. So I have a little group of mates, and then we go on and we play against each other. Might do winner stays on. And the reason I love it is because it's like really extremely tactical, but really tactical in terms of like trying to predict the other player and like bait them, like shoot the floor to pretend you're doing a rocket jump, but you're not really, and like run one way, but then do like a sneaky double back. And like often one player's in control and has all like the health and the armor, and then the other person's almost like hiding and just trying to find an opportunity to trap them or like hit a rail from far away. But it's really fast paced, and the mixture between like precision aiming and really fast paced gameplay, but also really tactical. And the fact that it's only 1v1, it always feels in your control. You got no one else to blame when you mess up.
I played it briefly with you, and I remember thinking like, oh yeah, this is like the arena shooters they used to make. This is where all the players are hiding now. Like they're all playing this game. Like it's like such a throwback. But obviously, like it's modern, so it looks amazing. But it is literally like if you ever saw those Unreal Tournament videos or anything from like 2001. This is or even earlier than that. 1997, 98. This is what they're playing now. Like.
Yeah, I mean, it's very from Quake 3 Arena, which is the one that really blew up in terms of multiplayer. Like, it's basically there's one gun that's different. They changed the grenade launcher to a tri-bolt, which is like a grenade launcher that shoots 3 grenades, basically. But apart from that, it's very much the same, like the way the movement works, a lot of the same maps. But yeah, it's modern. The reason it's only at 20 is because I have no love for like the art or the characters or the lore or the world, like compared to like another shooter that's going to be higher up on the list with a cast of characters. Like I have no desire to have like any merchandise for this game or like any statues of the characters. It's purely just the mechanics of the game, just in my kind of brain for what I like. It just ticks all those boxes.
And you've never been tempted to try like a different mode?
I mean, I've tried
like
them.
Teams or
yeah,
they're not the same. Like even with the people you play with, they're not like, oh, let's do doubles or.
No, I just duel, just the 1v1s. Like if I play the other game modes, I just get boring. Like because it's so like it sounds so stupid. It's like so intense. I mean, if you did like a heart rate monitor, because like a lot of these games, there'll be, if it doesn't go to overtime, 10 minutes, and a lot of the score lines could be like 3 frags to 2, and it's like every frag is important. But then there'll be times where it's like they have full control. I need to like give up a few frags to like, I know I'm going to die, but I need to do enough damage so by the time the next weapons are spawning, I got a fresh spawn and can have a chance to get them. And there's so much to consider. And I think the fact that I play against the same people and we predict each other so well, like we'd be like, oh, I know they normally go this way, so they're probably going to go that way. But it's got to the point where we're like, oh, they're going to think that, so I will go this way. Like we're so deep in it because we've played so much for so long. Great game.
Have you played like done like ranked solos or anything like that? Does that even exist? Ranked duels?
Yeah, I done ranked duels, and I actually got, I can't remember what it is, but I think I got ranked like 400 or something in the world. I got like, it's the highest I've been for like a competitive ranked shooter. I've been higher for like just general leaderboards, but I got quite a lucky streak of wins to get to that, and then I'm sure I'd have gone back down, but I did get quite high ranked in the world at one point.
Nice. Yeah, man. I mean, that's like I played it with you, and it is really hard. So I could see, you know those videos that are like, this is what 1,000 hours of Quake Champions looks like. That would just be me versus you. Like I'm like bumbling around.
Yeah, it's super impossible to get into. Like just the movement, like the way you move around is so counterintuitive because basically there was almost like a bug in the engine in the old Quake games that would allow you to move quickly, and everyone got used to it, and now they like it and they won't change it. And I'm controversially think they should, because otherwise no new players are going to get into it, because you have to play for 10 hours until you can move as fast as other people. It's crazy.
Yeah. Maybe they should do another. They could do like a Fortnite style playlist where they're like new style and old style.
Yeah, they do have gimmicky modes and silly things, and there are things for casual players in there, but I'd say like it's almost a game that I wouldn't really recommend to many people unless what I said about the duels sounds appealing. I think that if you want just that crazy arena shooter, like I think there's probably games that most people would find more fun. But it's free and it's on Steam.
It's free,
and it's not that big of a download, so there's no cost to checking it out.
Have you bought anything?
No.
Oh,
you don't need to. You pay for £10.
But do you not think they deserve your money?
But I'd buy like the credits or whatever to buy stuff. Like I have like hundreds of them that I don't have anything to do with. I've already got all the
characters are like gross. You don't want like skins because they're like murder clown.
And also like if it was an indie game, I think I would. But it's like it's Microsoft. Like they're fine. Like
That's true.
Me buying a hat for a character I don't like and I'll never see because it's first person. That ain't gonna help them out.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes, so that's my number 20. Do you want to give your 19?
I'm going 9. So yeah, this could not be further removed from Quake Champions if it tried. My number 19 even is WarioWare Inc. The Game Boy Advance and GameCube
Game Boy Advance.
Version.
What I was going to ask.
The original. It's on GameCube as well. Yeah. It's support.
I mean, it's got to be a different game, right?
Barely. It's pretty much the same game on GameCube as it is on Game Boy Advance, because they both just use the A button and the directions. It's the same thing. The GameCube one has a bit more multiplayer, but they're both as good as each other. So WarioWare is obviously still going. Probably not as big as it used to be, but this was the first ever one. And back in 2003, I literally thought it was like the coolest thing ever. And I used to play it all the time on an emulator on my PC, which is naughty, but here we are. And then I bought the GameCube version when it came out. It's just it's a good game. Like, it was pure, it didn't have any gimmicks. It was just like
you have 5 seconds. All it is gimmicks, Ollie. That's
no, but I mean, game. The Wii version was like motion control.
Well, do you want to explain just what the game is quickly for people that don't know?
It's basically like you just have to do mini games normally about 20 mini games in a row, but the mini games are like all pretty much unrelated to each other, and it will just have a word on the screen. So, for example, it will just say like sniff, and then there'll be like a woman on the screen with like snot coming out her nose, and then when you mash that A button, the snot goes back up her nose. And then the next one will be like bounce, and there'll be like someone laying on the floor, and you move them, and the watermelon bounces off them, and you can't drop it. And then if you get 4 lives, and then after about 20 stages, you do a boss, which is like another mini game but a bit longer. And I just remember thinking at the time it was like Nintendo, but it was like mad.
Yeah.
And they were like even more reserved back then than they are now.
Yeah, and it's like, not normal Nintendo style. It's almost not aggressive, but it's like I think it's the fact that it hasn't got a consistent style, and they vary so much, and some things are almost like hyper realistic and almost like meme-y in some cases.
Yeah. Like massively back then. It was just really weird, and like me and another Joe used to talk about it all the time. He used to play it in high school as well, and he was like, I remember us saying to each other, like, what are you going to do when you get home? And we're like, oh, I'm going to watch Dragon Ball Z and play WarioWare. And he'd be like, yeah, me too. Like, for like months.
Mr.
That was
Popular.
all we did. yeah. And then the GameCube
Sorry,
version
ladies,
is like,
not tonight. I got to
I've
press
got
the
WarioWare
snots.
and Dragon Ball Z. And then, the GameCube version added multiplayer modes, which were also really good.
Yeah,
so
we played that.
It was,
I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. So it has like a not a battle royale mode as it is today, but there was a 16-man survival mode that was pretty good, with these people like running along the beach, and every time you fail a mini game, they'd fall down a hole. That was pretty fun. Like, it was just a good, fun game, and also pretty much anyone can play it because it's so simple.
Yeah.
So it became quite a good like drinking game at uni, because anyone that was around could be like, oh yeah, just take this GameCube controller and it's the A button and that's it.
Yeah.
I wish they'd go back to that rather than...
Yeah, they seem to be like really want to use like each console's gimmicks now, and like blowing on the screen and stuff, or like motion controls and things. They seem to really want to. They seem to tie in with a new release of a console, and they want to show off what it can do.
Yeah, so I've finished all of them except for the newest one. I've even finished the motion controlled Game Boy one, but none of them, except for maybe the Wii, none of them really come close to the original.
It's probably because you played it first as well. That's probably
that's also it was novel then. You know what I mean? Whereas like every time after that, it's like, oh, it's an iteration on, what you've already seen.
Can I surprise you and tell you I played it relatively recently on my Game Boy Advance SP? I got it.
Did you?
Yeah,
nice.
I bought it. I say recently, within the last. I don't know if you remember when I got my SP. I probably told you, but within the last
you did, yeah,
few years. So that was one of the games I bought, and I played through all of it. Had a great time.
You have the original cart, or did you?
Yeah, got the cartridge.
Okay.
It's outside my room.
Nice.
I'm a man of the law.
Yeah, I've actually got one of those Game Boy carts you can put an SD card in, but I've not put anything on it. So
yeah, maybe
I should do that for this. I've actually got it for any future Game Boy games we do on the show, but I don't know if we ever will. But yeah.
Was that good to do?
Is that a shock? WarioWare?
No. I mean, once again, like, it's not. If someone's like, I would never have come up with it, but I remember you loving it back in the day, and we played it together. I didn't know quite how deep your love went, but I'm not surprised.
To be honest with you, my 10 to 20 is all like, my 10 to 20 is like games I liked when I was younger, because I was like, the top 10 are like the best games I've ever played. Then I was like, I had such good times with these other ones. They kind of all went in 10 to 20.
That is something we should make really clear, is these aren't what we think are the top 20 games. These are our personal favourite games. So, nostalgia is like allowed to play a big factor. I think even more so than our official list, which I think is a little bit more clinical maybe. And
it is definitely.
Right, okay, so my number 19 is what I personally believe to be, is my personal favourite platformer of all time. 3D platformer.
19.
Can you think?
19 as well. Super Mario Galaxy?
That's not a Mario game, I think.
What?
Yeah, my personal favourite platformer is Astrobot.
What, the one that came with your PlayStation?
No,
or the VR one?
The VR one, the PS4 one.
I was like, because obviously I've got a PS5, and I was like, it's not that good.
Wait, is it called? What's it called? It is called Astrobot, right? Let me make sure I get
it. It is called Astrobot. I just don't know what it's called exactly.
Okay,
the VR one. I mean, people loved it. I played it a bit at yours. I thought it was okay.
Man, so it's my favorite platformer and my favorite VR game, and it's the combination of the two. Of like, I think it's like a great platformer, but the way, like, it wouldn't be great without the VR. And I, like, at first when you think like VR, you think like first person, and I was like, well, how is it going to be interesting if, you know, I'm like, it's not that different compared to like a normal one.
Yeah.
But just the music is probably one of my favorite soundtracks, which really helps as well. I still listen to it all the time, that soundtrack. And the way like everything's going along to the music, and then like there'll be a little robot guy, and then you turn to look at them, and it knows that you're looking at them, and they're like wave and stuff. When you go under the water, it kind of tricks your brain, and you actually feel cold. And then when you breathe, like bubbles come out because it's like it's all of this, like the polish and the tiny details. There's nothing crazy or mind blowing that it does, but all of like the clever mechanics that it uses to work with VR, and the way you're like throwing in like ninja stars into the level, like swiping off the controller, and then the characters jump up them. Like, it's a magical experience. Like, it's not one that I'd replay all the time, but as one would, like, after every level, I'd like take the headset off and be like, wow, that was like, I've not experienced anything like that in a video game.
Yeah, my first WoW VR moment was playing that game at yours. And I think I'd played Tetris Effect and Rez in VR before then, and I was like, yeah, it's okay. But then, like, that game, I was like, this is mad.
It's because the everything in the game from the ground up has been made to be VR. And, like, you know, I'm not saying that this is some masterpiece that, you know, there's so many games that you could say, you know, like, I'm trying to do more or whatever. But, like, they had a mission brief and they just nailed it perfectly. And it gives an experience that any non-VR game couldn't do. And I've not played another VR game that does it as well as it does. And so, yeah, I had to have it on my top 20. And the soundtrack, just for the soundtrack.
I know, the soundtrack's good. What other games have they made? Because they're like a known team, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
Let's find out what the name of it is first. Astrobot VR is actually called Astrobot Rescue Mission, for a start.
That's it. That's the one. So they did when PS4 first came out, they made like a playroom thing, which was with those little robots, and it was using the like the camera, and you could like interact with all of them.
I can give you a quick modern rundown of their games.
Yeah.
Let's go down to like 2010 onwards. Okay. Echochrome. Everybody's Golf. Okay, this is PlayStation Studios. Okay, so this is like... No, this is
everything.
Not them. Okay, ignore that, yeah. Team Asobi, that's who they are. Oh, wow, so they've only made Astrobot games.
Yeah, so they did that playroom experience, and then I think they did something on PS3 with the Move controllers, I think they did.
They did Playroom VR, Rescue Mission, and Playroom PS5.
Yeah.
So
I think they were like a tech support studio or something at first, I believe. Like they were part of like the hardware team, and then like what they would do is they would make games or like almost like examples for developers to show how to use our technology. And so some of the stuff that made its way into the new Astrobot game on PS5 was they made demos for developers to show how to use the DualSense controller, and then they incorporated some of those ideas into like an actual game.
That has been probably the best DualSense usage.
But it's because it's made all around that. Like if every game was built all around it, the games would all pretty get a bit boring.
True. Although I have actually found recently, just quickly on the DualSense, is I've been playing Ghostwire Tokyo, and one of the things is because you shoot magic out your hands, and when you've done it too many times in a row, the trigger actually gets like really hard to push down. To like cool. Actually make you go slower. I thought that was pretty cool. But apart from that, I've never really noticed it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played many games on PS5 to be fair, so I'm not. Yeah, it's not really stood out. But yeah,
wow, I'm surprised by that's made it up there. Like it, I guess it's because I'm just thinking of the PS5 version, which is like 2 hours long, and it was pretty fun. But
yeah, no, I enjoyed that. That is the most thing I was excited for the PS5.
You better have a Mario game higher than that.
It's my favourite platformer. There can't be a Mario game.
Oh, God. You're going to lose your gamer cred again. This is like, what was it we did? The Halo episode all over again, where you just say silly things repeatedly. Right, okay. 18 for me. 18. Mm-hmm. This is a game I don't think you've even heard of. So this will be an interesting discussion. Okay. It's Rhythm Tengoku for the Game Boy Advance. Came out in 2006. It's by the WarioWare team, and it got
Yeah, I think I know. Isn't it like you're hitting like baseballs to the music and stuff?
So it got a UK, the DS version got a UK release called Rhythm Heaven. Yeah. But it was the original Game Boy Advance one that I spent so much time playing as a kid.
Yeah, no, we played that together on your Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. So basically it's like WarioWare mini games, but they're all set to music. And like, I just got absolutely obsessed with it because like I used to really like music games. Like we used to play Amplitude on the PS2 like all the time, and nothing ever really came close to that. And like I love WarioWare, so then the fact that this was music based was like even cooler. And I played it in Japanese, so I couldn't even understand like what was happening, but I still played it enough that I could complete pretty much every level without looking at the screen. So like I used to like literally just sit in my room and play it continuously. It had like it also came out really late in the Game Boy Advance's life. Like I've got another game on my list that's from the DS, and that came out before this did.
So do you want to just explain the core gameplay?
It's kind of it's like WarioWare, but it's set
for
to
those
music.
Just listening, will have no idea what this is.
So there's one, the most famous one is probably this karate guy, and there's like things flying towards him, and it's if you tap punch to the beat of the song, you'll like perfectly punch the things away, and then if you like half do it, it will like fly away from you but like fall on the floor. So you have like perfect and half beats and then misses, and then you can also be ranked at the end based on those three things. You get like a perfect or a good or a miss, and you basically go through and you do all these mini games. There's one where there's like a ghost you got to shoot with a bow and arrow, and he's like popping up in time to the music. Then the last time he pops up so fast you can't hit him, but if you listen to the song you know exactly when to shoot him. And then what it does is it takes like 5 of those mini games, remixes them all up to make a song, and then the boss of the stage is you play like a music video basically. And it does that 8 times over, and it's like I feel like whatever it's doing to my brain to be like it's in time to the music and it's a game, and it's just like very compelling. And I never found that. I played the DS one and the Wii one, but they never got me the same way the Game Boy Advance one did. Maybe it's because, you know, like WarioWare, it was novel the first time round.
And it's good because it's such a simple concept, and the games are, even compared to WarioWare, so simple, but they twist it constantly. Like, as you say, it will be like, I think there's one with like an archery one where it's like dun dun dun, then you got to shoot. And at first it will be like dun dun, you'll be seeing it, and then it will like go dun, and then it'll just go quiet, and then you're just counting in your head, and then you'd have to shoot it, and like, or then I remember there's one where you're like in a room like hitting a baseball away, but then doesn't it like start zooming out, so it's like really small and far away.
Yeah, you can't even see the baseball coming out.
Yeah, so you're just doing it from timing. Yeah,
and they'll do that, and they'll have the music, so you can listen to the music and play along. So you're like just thinking in your head, like, hit, but then the music will start to fade out, and you'll just get the sound of the baseball being hit. Like, it's just really clever. Super underrated series, probably. I don't think a lot of people have played it, but the original one, back in those days, I was really into importing games. I don't know why, because I couldn't read Japanese, and I still can't. But I was just thought, like, you know, weird mystical games that came from overseas. So there was this one, and then there was also that cheerleading Osu, the tapping DS one. Which they brought out in the UK as Elite Beat Agents. Elite Beat Agents was the UK version, but I had the original version, and I used to just import these weird games and like think I was so cool.
Once again, sorry ladies, not tonight.
I'm playing my import DS games on my DS Lite. That like that game, that DS Lite, man, that console was like, I loved it so much. I had a white DS Lite, and I literally just it was so good.
I remember it was like the kind of like, almost like glossy one, wasn't it? Like
yeah. I bought one recently, but I bought a black one just because I couldn't get a white one. But yeah, man, good times spent in my bedroom playing Room Dingo on my own.
But no, I'd played that as well. You doubting me that I'd heard of it. I was really
I just thought you'd be like, I don't even know what that is. Like,
you're doubting my gamer cred.
Yeah, I'm a bit.
Do you know, was it big in Japan? Is there any way you would get a sense of that? No,
I think it came out as a bit of a like, oh, we're doing the Game Boy Micro, so here's a game to go with it.
Yeah.
Because the Game Boy Micro came out, I think, after the original DS. Yeah. So there was some weird promo videos of people playing it on the Micro, and it looked like impossibly small to play on.
Yeah, I know.
There was one video that like I really liked. There was this guy who, I can't remember, for some reason I thought he was really cool, and it had a drum machine on it, and he was like making a song on the game using the Game Boy Micro, and I was like, I have to play this game. Like, I have to get it. Yeah. Check it out if you haven't. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, if you can. I don't know. Is there any way?
It doesn't work on it doesn't work on an emulator because it runs too slow. So you'd have to actually buy the cart.
Okay. Well, so good luck. I wonder if anyone will actually do that. Okay, so my number 18. This is one that I think might surprise you, Ollie. Like, I've definitely mentioned it to you, but I don't think you know how much I like it. And that's Metro Exodus.
What? What's going on here? This is literally like Quake, Astrobot, and Metro Exodus. Like, I don't even know you.
Oh God, you know, you've been over when I'm playing the Astrobot soundtrack. When you came over, I made you play it. You know how many hours I put into Quake.
Yeah,
and so Metro Exodus is one of the games where, that's the most recent one, like the third one, and I played it and loved it, and then went back and played all of the other ones leading up to it, because I enjoyed it so much. But Exodus is the one which is the open world one, and it's just like, I've just never played another game like it. It's beautiful graphically, which I think really matters more than most games because it's like so immersive, and like the way, like the weight that you feel moving around, and like the gun animations, and there's so many like first person animations throughout the whole game. Like, say if like you get like dust on your suit, like there's a button you got to press to like wipe it off, and like the sound of like it squeaking, like it feels so like physical, and like your gun's breaking and stuff. But then like just the gameplay loop of like, so the game is you're like on a train, you're kind of traveling across Russia, and then like you're stopping off at places, and then you'll have like a mini open world, just the right kind of size where like you would bring up like a real map, but it would have like like almost like X's, like let's go here and stuff, and just enough where you feel like, oh, I can explore everywhere and find secrets, but I'm not just doing a bunch of weird side missions. And you're always kind of wandering off, but you're always kind of limited on supplies, and it's how far do you want to push. It's just I've not played like another experience quite like it. In terms of like, yes, it's a first-person shooter. The core just shooting isn't anything to write home about. Kind of like what I said about like, I mean, it's not as bad like Prey. Like in one of our, I think it's the Last of Us podcast, I said that Prey isn't a isn't a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
And you kind of pulled a face, and it's like, well, it's not. It's like saying Mass Effect's a third-person shooter. It's like that's. I mean, it is.
Mass Effect's got multiplayer.
It is. Yeah, but if someone said what genre is it, someone's going to say an RPG before.
That's true,
like it is.
Yeah.
Like it technically is, but that's almost like doing it a discredit, saying like, because then it's going to be compared to other ones, and so this is much more like a survival exploration game, and then with first person shooting in there.
I always thought it looked very stressful. That's why I've never played it. Like, do you have to like manage your like oxygen and like is it like that sort of thing? Like, oh, I need to eat.
It's more like, the first two games were a bit more survivally like that, because it would be you're in like the underground, like all the train tunnels, and then every time you go on the surface you need oxygen to survive, whereas in this one you're on like the surface, and like when you're just out in the world you're okay, but then you might go to like a radiated area or something, and then you need to do special things. It's not, I think it strikes the right balance where it is like present, but it is not like a constant stress. It's not like, oh, my like hunger bar's going down and my water bar, I got to top that, because I get annoyed with that stuff. I think it strikes the right balance.
Well, the Switch version is on sale right now. Saw it
Don't play it on the Switch.
£2.49. It's cheap. You can get it on the Switch.
Do not play this game on the Switch. Like, this is a game where you want like the graphics do help, I think, for this game, because it's a game about exploring, and like it's not telling you anything. Like, you're finding things with your eyes and just discovering them. Like, and so it's almost like Breath of the Wild and stuff. So I think being able to see it all clearly helps. The story, I don't think is great. The dialogue is like super cringy. But like there's some cool there's got cool things, like there's like a side mission where you're on this train and this guy's like, oh, like there's like a thing I want you to get for me here, and I'll mark it on the map. You can do if you want. And you go there and there's like a boss, you get ambushed, and every time something like that happens, it's cool because you might get lifted up and you see like their arms and struggling, like really like high production values. And then it turns out you go through all of this effort and you're getting a guitar, and then you bring it back to him, and it's just, when you're in the train, he plays the guitar for you, and it's there's no like nice upgrade points, there's no like leveling up. It's just like, this is just a nice thing, and it's full of little moments like that where you're just doing it because it's like, yeah, that's, what would be a good thing to do. Like, it doesn't feel very video gamey in that sense. It feels a bit more real.
It seems like it's flown under the radar a little bit. I don't remember really hearing anyone talk about it ever. And like, it seems like...
I feel like there was the most talk when they first announced it was at an Xbox showcase, just because like the graphics look good. But there's a hardcore community that likes them, and they keep making these, so they're obviously selling pretty well.
Yeah, is there any multiplayer or anything, or is it just...
No, it's single player only.
Really?
But there is DLC, and the DLCs are all very good as well.
And you played the third one first?
Yeah, it was on Game Pass, and I played it almost on a whim, and I got obsessed with it, and I loved it. And I went back and played the first two, which I enjoyed, but they're much more linear and like you're a lot of following behind a person as they slowly open doors and like a lot more.
I played a bit of the first one, and that was also in lockdown. If you listen to the Death Stranding, it's not been released yet, has it? But yeah, the Death Stranding podcast I said about lockdown. I said like lockdown was just like not the one for playing games like Death Stranding, and I remember when I first played the first Metro game, and it was like, your currency is bullets that you also need to survive. And I was like, nope. I installed it.
That's such a cool mechanic though, isn't it?
It is. It's like
the high quality bullets, which are more effective, but also you got that trade off for like, I think that's so
I'm going to go back to it. But I was like...
Just skip unless you I'd say skip the first two.
I'm going to now.
Yeah, play Exodus. And also, like, every time you see a trailer, it's always of the same kind of, like, area, that kind of swampy place. You go to, like jungles and deserts, and you go to all these types of, like, scenery and, like, some really beautiful places and through villages and stuff. So it's not all just that same landscape. It's a big journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'll check it out, especially because I've been playing a few more open world games recently after not playing one for about 15 years. So
yeah,
start picking them up again. I was also thinking about playing Red Dead 2 because I've not even played a Rockstar game since Max Payne 3. So
yeah.
So my next one, we can probably gloss over it.
Okay.
Because in number 17 is Death Stranding, which we've just done a podcast on. So I don't know what more needs to be said other than...
I guess it's just plug the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast is out. One thing I didn't mention in the podcast that I've been thinking about is that I just really like the design, like the artist, the graphic design of the game is amazing. Like all of the objects and items and like the fake brands in the game are all like super believable. And like all that stuff really appeals to me.
I even like Fragile's dumb umbrella, even though it's dumb, it looks cool.
It's like, what has happened to that? But I like it.
Yeah. And also, since the podcast, you've continued playing it, haven't you?
I have indeed. Yeah, I've been building my roads. My long road from top to bottom on that huge chapter is one section away from being complete. Although I have had to peel myself away from the game because I feel like I've played it a bit too much. So was
that number 17? And you're top
17.
20. That's cool. That's cool. You play a new game. That's straight up to top 20.
Wait till we get to top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I can assume that there's some other games that are higher on our list that are going to be up as well.
I've said this before, but like until we did the podcast, I wasn't really playing new games or really even finishing them. Like, I was very much like, I like these games. They came out in between 2001 2005, and that's fine by me. I'm not going to play anything new. Even though I'd keep up with game news, I just wasn't playing them. Like it was always kind of like, oh, do I want to do that or do I want to do something I know? So I'd always go back to what I know. But like, man, there's been some great games coming out. Like I hadn't even played a PlayStation exclusive for since like, well, I played the Uncharted games and that was it. So like even those I missed out on. So yeah, the podcast's been great for playing new games.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, if you want to hear more about Death Stranding, we got a very long discussion all about it. Yeah. If you want to hear why we both loved it so much, you can go and do that. Right, so cool. My 17. This is the one that's moved the most up and down, on and off the list. This one's been in flux for so long.
Right, okay.
But it's a game that we both love, and that is Amplitude at number 17.
Yes. Oh my god, I'm so glad that got a shout out, because when I said it earlier on, when I was talking about something else, I was like, I didn't put Amplitude on the list.
Oh, okay, so I didn't know. So obviously we're only going to discuss each game once, so I didn't know if this is going to be one we would be doubling up. So yeah, what Amplitude is basically the easy way to do it is say it's like Guitar Hero with a controller. It's made by Harmonix, the people who made Guitar Hero, but basically you just have 3 kind of like lanes of notes, and so you'll be using, if you imagine a PS2 controller, like L1, R1 and R2, and so back in the day, like R2 wasn't a trigger, it was a button, and which is super important, which is why modern versions of Amplitude don't quite work as well, because you could tap all the buttons really quick, and basically you'd play every aspect of a song. So often you'd play like the drums of a song, and then you'd have control to switch tracks. You might go to then play like the bass and then like the vocals, and eventually you build up to do a whole song. And then if you do like a perfect combo for the song, you can kind of keep all aspects playing. But it's really, really fast because you're just tapping the buttons. You can go like really rapid, and then there's special abilities. You can use things to like slow it down or like float above the track and kind of remix it to like get extra points and stuff. So there's more depth to it than Guitar Hero, which is much more like hit the notes, use star power when you get it. Whereas on this, there is strategy, and then multiplayer as well, which we played a whole bunch, didn't we?
Multiplayer. So multiplayer, you could like write your own track and have the other person copy it, like kind of like Horse from Tony Hawk's. So like as long as they had to hit the track that you made, but like
so you'll tap it out in real time. You're not setting where you want them. Yeah,
we got so good at it that we would just hold the controller and just be like, and like the other person would hit it, and it would be like who's going to miss it first rather than who's going to hit it first, because we played it so much.
We were literally pressing as fast as we can. But I remember we really like, I'd go blah, 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 and then you'd go like almost like flinching, and you'd do the same. But then we'd both be like, way, like when you get it?
Or I remember one strategy that came up. I can't remember if we did this against each other, but it'd be like you pick a really fast song, and then you would just drop one note at the very end of the track. So it'd be like really hard to hit that one note because it'd fly past so fast.
Well, no, the way to really mess them up is only do just one note, but like, one button, but in like a really inconsistent timing.
Yes,
and that's more difficult than like going like left and right, because you'd have like strategy. So say if it's like swiping left to right to left, you go like, you'd kind of like
you have the
build
motion,
up muscle
the motion,
memory.
Yeah. So that's really weird, because I was just doing it then, and it's because if there's one note really fast, I would use the face button. Because I'd find that easier. So I'd be like, hitting square. But like, oh mate, that game is I love that game so much. Just before I moved house, so I moved last year, my old house had a TV that had SCART inputs. So just before I moved out, I played Amplitude for what could possibly be the last time. Like, I played it then, and I literally...
Come on, dude, we'll have a game. Well, we played it not that long ago together, didn't we?
Did we?
Yeah, my old house you came over. We played it on PS2.
Did we play it?
I
don't remember.
We did.
We should definitely have a session. We should play it again.
Yeah.
We should play it again. But I played it...
Go ahead, sorry.
When I played at my previous house, I managed to clear it on insane difficulty without a single miss, without a single fail. So I got all the way to the end, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe I can remember how to do this!" Like, mate, good pick.
And then
that's a good pick.
Multiplayer as well. You could also play it where because you're almost like a little spaceship going around.
Yeah.
And if you're a multiplayer, you're on the same bit, so you can kind of block tracks from each other. And there's strategy in terms of like, oh, I want to get this one so they can't, and I'm going to stop them. And then when you get the thing I mentioned earlier, where you're remixing the track, it would kind of have a little effect on the screen, and you could leave a line, and you'd always try and like do it over the other person's track to block their view of the notes to mess them up.
We used to, mate, that game is so good. I was actually really weirdly enough, earlier on I had You're So Cool Baby stuck in my head, the song from the game.
Oh, you should mention it's all licensed music, but like generally quite unknown tracks.
I'd say probably the most famous and also weird that they're even included is probably Pink and Weezer.
Yeah,
and
David Bowie's
they didn't even really match the rest of the game. What's that, sorry?
David Bowie. But it's like,
but it's a remix, isn't it? It's like
everyone says hi. It's like not it's not like Starman or anything. And then also we should mention there was a game they released before called Frequency, which is also very good. And then there's also a PS4 version of Amplitude, which is really good. I really like it. I think I played it more than you.
I played the demo.
But I think there's just I think it's just the controller. I think the songs aren't. Some of them are okay. But like, I think like I like the songs with vocals. It's quite fun, like doing the vocals and stuff.
Yeah, and didn't they add a story to the PS4 one? That's like you're in someone's body and you're.
Yeah, it wasn't near, but it's fine. It's like a little thing you skip through before you start. There's no like full cutscenes, but it's still good, and that's probably more available to people than the old one. It is. You would get a sense for what this game is, but just with the PS4 controller, with that trigger, it really hurts it in a big way.
Oh man.
I remember we played it so much, and I remember you came in, you'd like read it in a magazine or something. You're like, they're doing like a new Amplitude, but like with like a guitar controller, and we were like, God, I wonder if that will work. And I remember we went and like early adopters went and got Guitar Hero. Like we were around our friend Joe's house. And we were,
that was the game. Sorry, go on. Sorry, no, don't worry, go on. It was we were talking about earlier on, and I was like, "There's one game that I knocked off the list. And I can't remember what it was, and it was Rock Band."
Oh,
Rock Band was the one that I knocked off the list, and then I forgot to put it back on to honorable mention. Yeah,
but it's just funny for how big Guitar Hero became, and I feel like there's not many people that were like knew about like, oh, they're doing a new Amplitude, but with a guitar, weird. And then Guitar Hero became like the biggest thing, and no one's heard of Amplitude.
Yeah, I remember when there was even rumors of Amplitude, as in like the TU was a 2. And they were like, oh, they're going to do another Amplitude. And I also remember in that same, I think where I read about that, there was an interview with Harmonix, and they said that someone on the development team read a scientific paper or something that like human emotion is like heightened if you hear music being built one instrument at a time. So like songs where they bring in each thing, and they were like, I wonder if we could make a game out of that. And then that's kind of how it came about. But it's such a good game, so underrated. Yeah, so underrated. So glad you picked that.
Well, as I said, it swept right. It was moving all over because it's a weird one to like nail down, isn't it?
But yeah, also my honorable mention then is. Sorry, I missed that. You cut out.
I just say such a time and place game for us.
Yeah. But yeah, my honorable mention then would be Rock Band that I took off and I forgot to re-add. But a lot of fun was had with that. Like my mate, he had a projector, and we used to play Rock Band at his house. Oh, you were there? You used to come. To Chris's. And we play on the home system. I don't know how his parents used to put up with it, because it was like home cinema, surround sound system, and we used to just play Rock Band. And that was back on the Xbox 360 when the discs would always get ring burned. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And we'd always be like jumping around and be like, oh, the Xbox.
If ever you pick one up, forget about it. And just the sound it makes of just the disc crying out to you.
Yeah. And that was so funny. We bought that was when Joe James was saving up for a car. We went to HMV and we're like, just buy Rock Band. Buy Band in a Box, which is what it was called. You get all the gear in one go. And he was like, no, I'm saving up for a car. And we're like, just buy the game. We're like, we'll pay you back. And then none of us ever did.
You're such bad friends.
I know, but it was so fun.
But like him being able to drive you places. I guess he'd drive his mum's car, didn't he? Anyway, we're getting into the weeds of our school time. Right, so this is going to be your final one of this video, number 16.
I feel like this might be another surprise.
I'm already like, I'll be already in shocked face. Just
get ready. So number 16 for me is Animal Crossing Wild World, which is the predecessor to the 3DS one. Is that a shock?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, so that's the GameCube one, right?
No, it's DS. It's DS.
Oh, DS. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It was my first Animal Crossing game. And everyone I played since then, I was trying to recapture what I loved about it, and I never managed to. Yeah,
because I would say of us, I'm the Animal Crossing one. Like, I'm the one who's played the last, I think New Leaf more than you. And, what's the new one called? The New Horizons.
New Horizons?
Yeah. Like, I've put a lot of time into them, I think, much more than you. Surprising.
Yeah, Animal Crossing Wild World, like, it had no online functionality that I could use, if there even was any. You weren't the mayor, you just lived there. You couldn't really edit your town. You couldn't build anything. But I just like played it compulsively. Loved it. Like the animals that I looked this up because I was like, am I going mad? But the animals used to be like a bit ruder and like a bit edgier. And like the grumpy ones were actually like grumpy. Like, so it was funny. Like it wasn't like, this is horrible. But like, they would say weird things where you'd be like, oh, this guy's weird. I don't want him living in my town anymore. Like they had that mixture of like, oh, good upbeat people and like weirdos. And that's what I really liked about it is like, I remember I'd go and speak to someone and they'd say something weird and I'd take a picture on my little slide phone. and then take it into school and show my mate James, like, oh, look what Gaston said. Like, it's really weird. And then, like, we would make up games. Like, me and James would make up our own games and then play them, like, in the village. But it was so limited that I feel like it kind of inspired you to be more creative because you couldn't do anything. So, like, we got obsessed with playing, like, hide and seek. And, like, we would make characters and dress up as them and then, like, play hide and seek like that. And, like, for some reason, I've bought every Animal Crossing game since then, but I've just never loved them as much as Wild World, which was just the one for me that just
I think it's I think part of what you said, they may have softened the edges a little bit, but also I think it's, once again, that's your the first one, the time of your life when you're doing that, because I think everything you're describing you could do in the new ones, and more and better, and there's all sorts of games you could play, and they even had like timers that you can use in game to like make your own games up and the stuff.
Yeah, I think maybe the simplicity of it as well is it was like, the big thing you could do was get someone else's fruit and plant it in your town and it'd be worth more money. That was like the big thing. So if you imagine it was that basic. So once I'd done that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm like a hacker. Like I could make my house massive. Like paid off my house, paid off the shops, like made them huge.
Because it's worth more when someone else's fruit, isn't it? Non-local fruit.
Yeah, exactly. And it also was the first one to add, you could, because it was DS, you could draw your own clothes, like designs. And I loved all that as well. And I think it also had so I used to go online and use so you could put a picture in and it would convert it into a drawing, and then I used to copy it. I loved all that as well. But yeah, I guess that all of these have pretty much been nostalgia picks. They're all from except for Death Stranding, pre-2006. So,
yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Back when things were good. Back when we had good times, I didn't have to pay any bills.
Yeah.
Didn't have to work.
That's why this has been so hard for me, is because I'm trying to think about like modern masterpieces against like happy sunshine, smell the freshly cut grass, but also probably a bit janky. And today, if it came out, I probably wouldn't care about. Like it's so hard to like weigh up what do you put above.
Yeah, I did actually go back to Wild World and on the run up to New Leaf, and I did play it quite a bit, but it wasn't the same.
No, exactly. Yeah, like it is so much about like the time when you were playing it as much as the game. But I mean, no one's going to argue about Animal Crossing. They're amazing games. Obviously, New Horizons, one of the best-selling games of like all time already.
Yeah, is it called New Horizons?
Something. It is it new?
Because it's New Leaf. It can't be New Horizons.
Is it something Horizons?
It's something Horizons.
Animal Crossing. If I just search Horizons, yeah, it is New Horizons.
What?
Is it?
They use the word new twice?
Yeah, New Horizons.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's that crazy.
I never played City Folk either, actually.
Is that the game? Oh, that's Wii. Okay.
Yeah, the GameCube one was just called Animal Crossing.
Oh, okay, and that's the first one, right?
Yeah, and I remember like seeing my mate's older brother playing it, and I was like, "What is this?" It's like, what are you doing?
So I jumped in on New Leaf, and I would mainly play it when editing videos, back when I used to do 2 videos a day, and I'm mainly just listening through for my audio. So I'd be like half like watching and listening, and then half like picking up apples.
Yeah, and there was also a really like tight community around Wild World, and they used to like make I don't know if memes were even a thing then, but they would make like memes of the game and stuff, and I loved all that. I was so into it. So yeah, cool. So I guess it's your last one.
Yeah, my final one, number 16, is a game I've briefly spoke to you about. I know you don't rate this game anywhere near as much as me, but I think you've completed it, and that's Inside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, there we go. That was exactly what I was expecting. But you finished it, yeah?
I finished it, yeah. It was all right. I finished it.
I can't believe you finished that, and then your takeaway is that was all right.
It's like, okay, the ending's gross. Is that it? Like...
No, like I think even without so obviously the ending, like we don't need to spoil it here because I don't think we have to. But like it's got a cool, unique ending that I didn't see coming. I didn't have it spoilt. But like even without that ending, like I feel like the ending's almost has overshadowed how incredible the rest of the game is. It's beautiful, like the artistry in it, and I think it does tie into the gameplay. It's not like it's technically impressive, but like how smooth the animations are, like it almost like, because it's simple enough on a 2D plane and the animations are so good, Like, it has no jank. You know, when like even something on Last of Us, you might stand near a wall and the arm will slightly go through a wall, or the clothes will clip through a gun. You know, and that's The Last of Us is as good as you get for that kind of 3D game. But for this, there's basically none of that. It's like perfect, and you can tell that they've taken every single instant and they've play tested it and altered it to perfection. Like, you'll be chased like by dogs and they'll know just the speed to have the dog, so you panic, but you always have time. They want you to succeed, but you to feel the panic of the moment. The puzzles are just the right level where you're never stuck on one for too long, but you always feel smart when you work it out. And it's always tying the puzzles in some way to like the world and the machinery, and what was this machinery meant to be for? And then you're controlling all of those like brainwashed people and stuff, and the way they move around, like, and then all the bits in the water where you're being like chased by like that, almost like the Ring Girl. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's the bit that came to mind actually when you mentioned it. You swim up, don't you? You look at each other.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole section when you're like trying to avoid her. And I think you get like a little submarine, don't you? A little like.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I don't want to be negative. I think it's overrated, but that's my. Yeah, same with Limbo. I didn't really rate Limbo either.
Oh, I enjoyed Limbo. I rate Inside a lot more than Limbo. I like both of them. So, like, I mean, it's highly rated, and I guess if you didn't enjoy it, it makes sense. Like, I played it with zero. Like, I hadn't watched, because if I know I'm going to play a game, I don't watch any reviews or anything. So I played it with zero hype, and my takeaway was that I think it is like almost, for what they want to do, I think it's almost perfect. Like for what they're trying to achieve. I'm curious about why. Like, do you have any negatives, or you just don't think it's that special?
I just don't think it's that special. Everyone's like, oh, it's, artistic, and it's like, well, lots of things are, and I don't really. I was like, oh, that's a weird ending. It's like kind of like a slow platformer. Like, it didn't resonate with me for whatever reason. It should do. It's things that I like, but I just didn't.
No, that does surprise me. Like the bits when you're like marching and it's like you're trying to walk in line with everyone else to like not stand out, and like the spotlight's on you and stuff.
Yeah, it was okay. Like lots of games have done things like that, Like it just didn't land with me. I remember just thinking like, it's a slow
name
platformer.
One that does what it's doing better. I dare you, Ollie. I dare you.
What, a better artistic platformer than Inside?
One that's attempting to do a similar thing. Like, obviously, there's one which has got like, because it's a platformer, but you bunny hop, you barely. It's not platformer in terms of like that sense. It's much more about the puzzles and the atmosphere.
There's other games like it, but I don't really rate them either. Like Another World, Prince of Persia, that sort of thing. Is like, and games that have that kind of stilted movement. One that I think is better is probably Abe's Odyssey.
I mean, no, I think. So things like, when you say Prince of Persia, do you mean the original?
Yeah.
Like, so that's different, because this is more like, what was that game that Ubisoft did where you're like the robot and you're like climbing up high, and it's like physics-based platforming.
Climbing up, growing up or something?
Oh yeah, because
it's like a red robot.
Up. Yeah. So that game where it's like, which is the opposite to like Abe's Odyssey, where it's like a very set animation. You press jump, they're always going to jump the exact same distance, no air control. It just plays basically a video of an animation of it jumping. This isn't that. This is still in the way that it's all physics based, and as you jump, your arms will be slightly different each time because it's actually working out in real time, but you just can't jump very high. And then if you're clambering up, it does it more realistically to how like a boy would clamber up. But I think that just helps the atmosphere, and that is what, that never glitches out, and it just makes it all look so perfect and real and exact.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I know. I'm not
trying to convince you to like it. I'm just trying to work out like why it.
I think maybe because it was like
me, but not for
I
you.
went into it thinking it was like an art thing, and then when I finished it, it just instantly left my brain, and I never thought about it ever again.
Okay.
I was just like, oh, it's done. I think we're done, aren't we?
Yeah, so that's 20 to 16. So as I said, this is going to be in 4 parts. So next we're going to be doing 15 to 10, right? Or no, 15 to 11. 15 to 11 will be our next one. And then, we'll keep going until we get to our favourite games of all time. Just as expected, this is a fun one. A lot of curveballs, a lot of games that I think, I think almost every game I said, you leant back in your seat and went, "What?" So,
I know, Amplitude. I can't believe we waited till then. I thought I should have put it at 20.
Well, it's going to suddenly show up in your top 10 now. You're going to quickly switch around. You have time to change it. So yeah, basically we'll leave links in the description if you want to go straight to the next one once it's online. These will probably be, if you're watching it as soon as it came out, a bit spread out because they're going to take a while to edit because we were going to want to have obviously footage of the game up. So yeah, just keep an eye out, and these are going to keep gradually appearing. The reason we're doing this is because so many of you requested it. We had plans to do this at some point in the future, but so many people kept commenting saying they want to know our top 20s. So that's that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, I hope I didn't end on a negative by saying I didn't love Inside. I didn't drag the mood down.
Well, that's a good thing. It doesn't matter. I don't need to convince you because it's our own favourite ones. I mean, if you don't like it, you don't like it. I mean, like Time Crisis 2, I'm like, yes, a light gun game. I have no passion or anything for it. Like, I just didn't mention it because I didn't want to bring you down because I'm considerate.
Well, you set me up. You were like, oh, I know you don't like this one. Like, teeing me up.
It's fine, like, let's say personal list. Anyway, that is the end here. As I say, the next one will be up soon, but apart from that, cheers for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.